Okay, I am back for part 4 of the Richard Cain lawsuit against the Department of Defense, and it's getting pretty late. Part 5, I might be wearing something different because I might be needing to go to bed pretty soon, and maybe pick this back up tomorrow if I have time. I'll do my best. Okay, so we're on part 4, but we are on part 5 of this document here. And part 5 is the statement of material facts alleged. Okay, the material facts alleged in the complaint are of critical importance because the court must presume such facts to be true for purposes of a motion to dismiss. CNL Indus Incorporated versus Kaplan 792 after a bunch of, okay, it's 1986. Plaintiff's 2 minor children on or about July 15, 2010 began to experience the following physical symptoms while asleep: flailing of their arms and legs, crying, balling up into fetal positions, profuse scratching of various body parts, profuse grinding of their teeth, distressful breathing, profuse coughing, complaints of burning eyes, complaints of headaches, a stiff and straightening of the body resulting in enuresis, I don't know what that is, jerking about in their sleep, and red sphere-shaped millimeter-sized circular marks would appear on various parts of their bodies. The red circular marks turned into pus-filled blisters. All of the events occurred during the nighttime hours. The investigative evidence gathered to date suggests that the injury caused by the RF devices is extremely effective and efficient when the body or when the intended target is in a resting or sedentary state. The devices are also more effective when the trigger person is within 200 feet to 1,600 feet of the intended target, thus causing maximum pain, injury, or death. Plaintiff and mother of the 2 minor children transported the minors to urgent care centers and emergency rooms in the counties of Ventura, Santa Barbara, and Los Angeles, for which general practitioners could diagnose what was causing what appeared to be red sphere-shaped rashes and distressful breathing. Still have this on my head? No, I was getting rashes on my head earlier. Damn, where did I leave off? Okay, plaintiff for more than... Ooh. Ringing in my ear right now. Plaintiff for more than 1 year period could hear a thud or something land or touch down on the roof of their residence, and which caused the wood to crackle. Soon thereafter, his 2 minor children would then begin to flail, jerk, and jolt about in their sleep. Plaintiff videotaped the occurrences, which took place on a nightly basis like clockwork. Plaintiff then began to realize that something from the outside of their home was connecting to the bodies of his minor children and causing them to experience distress and breathing difficulties. So that's I've heard a lot of you talk about the drones that are flying around and that they'll control the chips that are in you with drones. That could be what that was. Plaintiff on or about April 30th, 2011 experienced a jolt to the left temple area of his head. He then requested from his Sansom Clinic primary care physician a referral for an MRI of the head as a throbbing pain persisted for several days thereafter. Plaintiff on 4/17/2011 participated in an MRI of his head, which was conducted in the Sansom Clinic Radiology Department. Although the MRI depicts an obvious sensor lodged into his left maxillary sinus and other areas of his head, the radiology report was alleged to be normal. Defendant Steve Hartzman, MD, and Kathleen Pomjuas, MD, falsified the radiology reports as they relate to the MRI of the brain and MRA of the neck in furtherance of the conspiracy. A true copy of the MRI of the plaintiff's head is hereto attached in Exhibit 9. Yeah, none of the attachments of the exhibits are in this document, which would be great to have. Plaintiff on January 1st, 2012, after general practitioners could not determine what was causing his 2 minor children to experience the aforementioned nightly abnormal sleeping patterns and injuries, He then traveled with them to the city of Sacramento, California, where he visited the International Center Against the Abuse of Covert Technologies. Okay, so in Sacramento, they have a Center Against the Abuse of Covert Technologies at the state capitol. Okay. So once again, in Sacramento, they have the Center Against the Abuse of Covert Technologies, ICAACT.org. Where'd my highlighter go? Hold on, I'll be right back. I'll highlight that. Okay, phase 1 was conducted in order to determine whether foreign devices were in the bodies of the minors. They were both scanned with a JM20 Pro RF detector, which revealed evidence that their bodies were sending and receiving RF signals. Plaintiff was sending and receiving. I'm sorry. Plaintiff was informed by, they're talking about a kid here. You know, they put these things in kids. Plaintiff was informed by the technician that, based upon his experience, the devices had to have been implanted or injected into the bodies of the plaintiffs while they were in a medical setting, and that typically an entire family is chosen as research subjects. The technician then asked the plaintiff's permission to scan him. Plaintiff was then scanned. At the RF detector revealed RF signals were sending and receiving from almost every part of his body as well. The mother of the minor children began to exhibit the same pattern of symptoms and strange occurrences during the summer of 2010. She had not participated in an RF scan at this time. The ICAACT.org technician was horrified and saddened by the fact children had been implanted with the RF devices. They should be. Thus requesting permission to post the video of them being scanned. Permission was granted. Plaintiff was informed that the devices were more likely implanted or injected during admission to a hospital, medical facility, and/or dental office while placed in an unconscious state. Plaintiff, on or about January 2, 2012, realizing that he had only been admitted to 2 hospitals since birth, ordered his medical records from the Goleta Valley Cottage Hospital, GVCH, located in Goleta, California, and St. John's Regional Medical Center, SJRMC, located in Oxnard, California. Plaintiff, on or about the same date, ordered the medical records of his 2 minor sons, who were both born in 2006 2007 at the Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital, located in the city of Santa Barbara, California. Plaintiff also ordered the medical records of his daughter, who was also born at GVCH in the year of 2002. Plaintiff discovered that the same modus operandi and the pattern of medical complaints which were prevalent throughout her medical records, in particular profuse grinding of her teeth, resulting in $10,000 in dental bills. Plaintiff, on or about 1/14/2012, received his medical records for the GVCH. Amongst the records, he discovered a chest x-ray dated 4/4/2004. The x-ray bared his name and other personal information. A GVCH radiology department report was amongst the records. The report was dictated and authenticated by defendants John Wrench, MD, and finalized by Ramona Clark, MD. The X-ray was alleged to be normal, although the X-ray depicts implant leads on the inside of his body and extending downward from his ears to his chest and wrapping around the left side of his body and ending in his back. The X-ray also depicts lead anchors sitting on top of his left and right shoulders over the deltoid muscles. Leads or wires are depicted being threaded through a lead anchors and into the left and right deltoid muscles of the plaintiff. A true copy of the discovered chest x-ray and order scans depicting submillimeter and millimeter sized devices that are implanted in the cochlea, deltoid muscles, skull, brain, and base of skull are herein attached as Exhibits 10. Plaintiff, on or about 1/14/2012, received his medical records from the St. John's Regional Medical Center. Plaintiff discovered the existence of a chest x-ray. I'm trying to get comfortable here. Which bared his name and other personal information. A radiology report accompanied the x-ray and was written by defendant Raymond Mastrovito, MD of Pueblo Radiology Incorporated. The x-ray was alleged to be normal. The x-ray depicts implant leads on the inside of the body and attached to metallic devices were implanted into the left and right anchor walls of the plaintiff. The leads penetrate the left and right sides of the plaintiff's heart and are designed to shift downward, causing the devices to penetrate and come to rest in his heart. The leads then wrap around the right side of his chest towards the back. A true copy of the discovered 4/10/2008 chest x-ray and ordered CT scans for the plaintiff's chest, which depict wires and metallic electrodes on the inside of his body, and implanted into his heart and abdomen are herein attached. Exhibit 11. Plaintiffs on or about 1/4/2012 received the medical records of his minor child born at the SBCH. Plaintiffs discovered the existence of a third view lateral chest x-ray stemming from a night in which minor child was taken to the SBCH emergency room after experiencing flu-like symptoms and distressful breathing. The Cottage Health System electronic records and x-ray report indicates that there were only two frontal chest views of the minor's chest taken on that night, but upon retrieval of the records, a third view film was provided directly to the plaintiff. Defendant Steve Hartzman, MD, dictated and authenticated the report. Although the x-ray depicts several submillimeter and millimeter-sized foreign objects implanted or injected into the area of his aorta, the scan was alleged to be normal. A true copy of the discovered third view lateral chest x-ray is herein attached as Exhibit 12. Plaintiffs, after visiting icaact.org and discovering x-rays bearing their names and depicting foreign objects in them, plaintiff requested from his primary care physician and the minor's pediatrician referrals for x-rays to determine whether the foreign objects depicted in the discovered x-rays remained in their bodies. Both physicians were concerned about the result of the RF scans and the appearance of foreign objects depicted in the discovered 2004, 2008, 2011 x-rays, agreed to order chest x-rays of the plaintiffs. Plaintiff, on 4/2/2012, visited Pueblo Radiology Incorporated for a chest x-ray. The radiology report was dictated and authenticated by Ramona Clark, MD, and transcribed by Halbosky. Why is that in bold letters? By Halbosky. Coincidentally, Dr. Clark also authenticated the discovered GVCH x-ray that was taken 8 years prior. The x-ray depicts obvious foreign metallic devices, but yet it was alleged to be normal. Investigative efforts reveal that alleged transcriber of both the report, Halbosky, was manufactured and does not exist as an employee of Pueblo. Oh, okay. They just wrote down a fake person. Was manufactured and does not exist as an employee of Pueblo Radiology. A true copy of the ordered chest x-ray is herein attached as Exhibit 13. Plaintiff's minor child, born at Santa Barbara College Hospital, participated in an x-ray of his chest at the Cottage Center for Advanced Imaging. The radiology report was dictated and authenticated by defendants Daniel Gould and Thomas C. Daughters, MD. The chest x-ray depicts obvious abnormalities as coded submillimeter and or millimeter-sized foreign objects are depicted in the scan. The x-ray was alleged to be normal. A true copy of the ordered Chest x-ray herein is attached. Exhibit 7, plaintiff's minor child born on, at x-rays, Cottage Center for Advanced Imaging. The radiology report was dictated and authenticated by defendant Arthur Lee, MD of CCAI. The chest x-ray depicts abnormalities, submillimeter and or millimeter sized devices. The report was alleged to be normal. A true copy of the ordered chest x-ray is herein attached. Okay. A lot of this is details of this, but it looks like everywhere this guy went to figure out what's wrong with his family, other than them just being sick and needing some kind of medication prescribed to them, he got lied to about his kids. You know, what's more important than your kids? He's trying to protect his kids. He's trying to protect himself. He's asking for help. He's going to the people that we assume are going to look out for our best interest. Doctors, attorneys. I mean, some of you, I'm sure, don't expect an attorney to look out for your best interest, but if you're paying them, you would think that they're going to work for you. Professional medical staff, you know, these people just lie and lie. Not every single one of them, but the people that are working directly with the DoD, with these contracts, you know, and how do you know? How do you know? Or is every doctor and medical professional given one of these letters that says, if you discover any of the following, here's the list. If you discover any of that, immediately use active denial and pretend like you don't know what they're talking about, lie, cheat, steal, do whatever you have to do to get that person out the door without their x-rays and without the true knowledge of what's going on with them. Okay, a lot of this is going over x-rays, CT scans, where the chips are placed in these kids' bodies, what imaging centers they went to, which doctors lied, which devices. See, this one's associated with remote neural monitoring. Okay, so this goes over and over about all of the x-rays, CAT scans, and the expert witness that they were dealing with. Various areas of the body. Plaintiff and his 2 minor children underwent a second round of scanning. Testing was performed by his. How is this not a criminal case? Why does this have to be a civil case that somebody has to go through all of this? Why are there not detectives and special agents that prevent this kind of thing? See, that's where something went wrong. You know, these people are spending all of the money that all the tax money that is supposed to be used on protecting the public to go after the public, hunt them like animals. A lot of things need to be changed. You know, if something like this was going on, you think you'd be able to pick up the phone. FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, federal government, you're going to investigate things that are going wrong, criminals, right? And I know they do some of that, but why can no targeted individual call DHS, call FBI, call the CIA, call whoever? We don't know who we're supposed to call about this. Why can't you call somebody, ask for help, tell them what's going on with you, and and have them direct you to the person that will actually investigate this, because this is human trafficking. This is a crime, and we're supposed to have people that investigate this kind of stuff. Yet this has to go through court in a civil case, and they have to name each one of these people individually to sue them individually. This is. Can you see how wrong this is? Can you see how messed up this is? That it's backwards. That we should be able to reach out to these people and ask for help. Yet these people are the ones that are doing this non-consensual human experimentation. You know, they have to have people that who's gonna. You know what? Some people would probably agree to this, but they probably aren't the people that they want to study. So I guess that wouldn't work for them. So they have to lie, cheat, and steal, and invade people's bodies, and every right that they have as an American, as a human being, to for what? What is the final outcome of this? It's not for the betterment of humanity. It's for total control, and to fill up hospitals, fill up prisons, fill up mental facilities, fill prescriptions. There's literally trillions of dollars involved in this whole thing. This is a $1 trillion industry. I guarantee it. I might be dead and gone by the time that everybody realizes this, but this is a $1 trillion industry. This is where a lot of the money that is missing from our Federal Reserve is being spent through FISA, is funding this. Plaintiff's expert witness, Dr. Ferrier, Dr. Spencer, Dr. Stranger, PhD, private investigator Melinda Kidder, have provided this court with declarations as it relates to the Bivens action and their expert findings. True copies of their declarations are herein attached as Exhibit 23. Department of Defense's components, partnerships, grant recipients, and its defense subcontractors are responsible for the unwarranted implantation of microelectromechanical systems. That's what MEMS stands for, microelectromechanical systems. Radio frequency RF controlled and powered submillimeter and millimeter micro simulators. So in court papers, you have to repeat everything. Every section has to be interesting. Plaintiff's research purposes. The MEMS devices are also the radio signal translated into. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to. Okay, so this keeps going on about implants, where they're implanted. So this one was in the brain, Exhibit 24. X-rays. I hope I'm not missing something important here. Remotely triggered, inducing asthma-like symptoms. Distressful breathing. X-ray. So these are all of the implants and the effects that they have on the body, and what was implanted in these people, and what effect it had on their body. This guy did an amazing amount of research. Okay. Okay, developed sense of occasional discomfort in his right lateral chest, wall. Had that. Department of Defense's components, partnerships, grant recipients, defense contractors. On or about July 5th, 2009, authorized, funded, and conspired to frame up the plaintiff after realizing they could not unring their bell of constitutional violations, which began on 4/4/2004. So that was going on with me. They saw me making progress. I was filming people, getting their reactions, some obvious reactions, people that knew what was going on. And when I filmed the officer, questioning her about this, and it was clear that she knew what was going on. She was just kind of making fun of me, and instead of taking a report right there when I was talking to her in person, told me, "Yeah, just go fill out this thing online. Go get that'll get the ball rolling. That'll get the ball rolling." 3 weeks later, I was arrested. So the closer you get to the truth here, the more they turn up the heat and try to make you look crazy, try to discredit you, do everything they can, try to slow you down in traffic while you're getting to court. They'll use every single tactic that they can to keep the truth from coming out. And they're starting to get caught. These people got sued for millions of dollars. Which to the DOD, millions of dollars is nothing. But all these people getting sued personally, these doctors, it's going to make some people think twice about their decisions as a healthcare professional. Okay, Department of Defense Components Partnership Transfers. Manufactured a company by the name of Insource Executive Services. Insource Executive Services contact the plaintiff's company, Elite Attorney Services, via email to inquire whether EAS would be interested in becoming a government liaison for their company. The email communications between IAS and EAS are here and attached. Okay, so they tried to get this guy to be a perp. I'm going to read that again. So the DOD and contractors manufactured a company by the name of Insource Executive Services. Insource Executive Services contacted the plaintiff's company, Elite Attorney Services, via email to inquire whether EAS would be interested in becoming a governmental liaison for their company. Plaintiff inquired from the defendants as how IAS became aware of EAS since his company was newly formed California Corporation in early 2009. Plaintiff also, during the same time period, founded a second corporation named Community Care Consultants, which provided consulting to licensed residential care facilities. Department of Defense, its components, partnerships, grants recipients, and its defense subcontractors informed the plaintiff that they retrieved his information from the website of the National Association of Professional Process Servers. Department of so DOD and everybody else involved then inquired whether EAS would be interested in becoming a governmental liaison with their company by assisting their employees of Northrop Grumman with their Homeland Security residency paperwork. Northrop Grumman. Since EAS and Richard Cain were registered as Service of Process Agency, IAS alleged that they wanted a trusted company registered with NAPPS to assist because the EAS office located in Westlake Village, California, in close proximity to the city of Carson, California, where Northrop Grumman and its employees were based. Plaintiff, due to his law school and other personal priorities, personally declined the offer of IAS. Plaintiff then hired a former paralegal, Miss Barbara Allen of Thousand Oaks, California, who accepted the governmental liaison position as a private contract employee. Miss Allen's duties included meeting with IAS employees at the California Department of Motor Vehicles in the city of Carson, California, to assist the alleged Northrop Grumman employees with applying for their driver's license and Social Security cards. Plaintiff has never met the alleged Miss Hull of the alleged IAS executive, and nor has he ever met anyone who alleged to be an employee of Northrop Grumman. In hindsight, plaintiff now realizes that the requested governmental liaison, in quotes, services were meant for him to perform so that he could be seen and or photographed as being associated with individuals who are alleged to be engaged in criminal activity. Exactly. So that's part of the setup, kind of like when this is a smaller level kind of thing, but like when my next door neighbor over here, who are guaranteed perps, I'm pretty sure they drugged us one night when they invited us over for food. Come over to the party, we're making food. That guy one day locked his keys out of his truck, and knowing that I'm a helpful neighbor, well, I used to be. I don't do anything for anybody now until I get through this, because a lot of times when you're asked to help somebody and they know that you're the kind of person that will look out for other people, they're going to use that against you. So like my neighbor said, hey man, I locked my keys in my car. Can you help me? Do you know how to get in the car? Can you help me with that? So I go over there and I'm trying to help him get into the car. In the fire department, we used to use a blood pressure cuff, blow up the blood pressure cuff, and it would open up the door so you can put something down in and unlock that. So he's helping, or I'm helping him, and he's using this bar to like pry his door open and try to push the thing down in there, and he's like sitting up on his roof and trying to pry the thing open, and it's denting his truck. And then he goes, well, here, maybe you can get up here and you can hold this thing for me and I can do the hanger. So next thing you know, I'm on top of my neighbor's truck helping him, and I've got this bar. I'm pulling this bar back on his door, and I'm sitting literally on top of his truck just holding it for him. And he's like, instead of sitting up on the truck putting the hanger in the top of the door, he's kind of like leaning down, putting the hanger in like this, like so you can't see his face. So I can only imagine there's probably somebody on the other side of the vehicle taking pictures of me with some kind of this bar on top of his truck. And now what's it look like? It looks like I'm trying to break into his truck. My fingerprints are all over it. So we get done and he can call the police and say, yeah, my truck, somebody was trying to break into my truck. Guess what? They check it out. Whose fingerprints are on it? Mine and his. Well, he owns the truck, right? And he can just say, oh, well, the neighbor was never over here helping me. That's the kind of thing that they're talking about right here. They try to set you up in a situation to show that you are doing something that you're not. Character assassination. So I'm just going to read that again. Plaintiff has never met the alleged Miss Hull of the alleged IES executive, and nor has he ever met anyone who was alleged to be an employee of Northrop Grumman. In hindsight, and they say in hindsight, a lot of these things that happen are so subtle that you don't realize until maybe like a week later, 2 weeks later. There's some things that, especially when I found out what this whole non-consensual experimentation is and what gang stalking is, I've realized things that literally happened to me in 6th grade. That was the earliest street theater event that I remember happening in 6th grade. Now, my targeting under FISA or whatever program I'm in now, I know started minimum at age 33, but I've been going through some kind of trauma-based mind control since I was a child. And that's where it gets really tough to explain. Anyway, in hindsight, where'd we go here? In hindsight, plaintiff now realizes that the requested governmental liaison services were meant for him to perform so that he could be seen and or photographed as being associated with individuals who are alleged to be engaged in criminal activity against the U.S. His association would give rise to the plaintiff being labeled a person of interest, since plaintiff did not accept the position. The defendants used the emails associated with that service to frame up and associate him with unknown individuals. Department of Defense, its components, partnerships, grant recipients, and or its defense contractors realized in 2009 that the plaintiff could not be labeled as being mentally ill since he was scheduled to graduate from the Southern California Institute of Law in February 2011. Defendants' typical modus operandi is to label their human research subjects as being mentally ill once he or she begins to complain of strange symptoms. So when I went in to go talk to my attorney about this whole thing, one of the main things they wanted me to go do, which I still haven't done yet, is to go see an independent psychological evaluator and get an evaluation from that person. Sorry, I'm getting... That immediately popped up a red flag because I know that that's one of the things that they want you to do is to go see a mental evaluator. And excuse me. When I was talking to him about it, I said, I don't need to see a mental evaluator. I need you guys to look at the facts of this case, or my statements, what's going on. There's tons of information out there. There are plenty of professionals that speak about this. This is not something that is non-existent anymore. This is becoming not even a phenomenon that it can't be explained anymore. It's becoming facts that are out there. And here's more of them. So I still don't know if I'm going to do that evaluation. It would be good to have an evaluation if I knew that the evaluator would actually listen to the facts of my case and ask me questions that would be helpful for me to answer. Not ask me questions like, I don't know. They have a way of asking you questions like, you really don't believe these people are following you, right? You know, things like that. And then you're kind of back on your heels going, wait, no, I'm telling you that these people are following me. I'm telling you all these instances that are happening. And then you're coming at me with, you know, this isn't happening, right? You know, I'm not spending, and plus the evaluator, who I was told, just go see him, it'll be a couple $1,000s. You know, like a couple $1,000 is not a lot of money. That's, you know, that's a lot of money. And then I call up to set up the appointments, and it's $5,000, another $5,000. You know, this is my business behind me. This is what I do. After all of my jobs were sabotaged, I ended up doing this. You know, that's my inventory, and that's what I do now to make my living. And kind of tough to be paying an attorney $40,000, psychological evaluator $5,000, somebody to scan you for RFID chips, another $2,500, $3,000, if not more. I don't even know. I haven't. The last person I spoke to sweep the house and check me, it was $2,500, and I'm running out of dollars. So this cost this person a lot of money to do all this. All right, I'm getting off track, going on tangents away from these court papers, so I should get back to that. That just struck a nerve with me that, you know, I can identify with this guy. I could sit down with this person right here and talk for days about this. When you meet another targeted individual and they're truly targeted, you can have a conversation with somebody for 2 hours and still have hardly said anything. I mean, not said anything, but hardly gone over all of the things that have gone on with you. You feel an immediate connection with that person because you've both experienced, you know, it's like, you know, some veterans that were deployed to similar areas, and they might have been there for a couple of years. And those guys have never met each other, but they'll meet 20 years down the road, and they can start talking about their experience. And yeah, we were over here. These guys were over here. You were part of what unit? Oh yeah, man. What, you know? And then those guys are friends immediately. They can identify with each other. It's kind of the same thing that goes on with targeted individuals. You meet somebody, and it's like the friend that you've known your whole life. That you know, you can finish their sentences. All right, Department of Defense, its components, partnerships, grant recipients, and defense subcontractors realized in 2009 the plaintiff could not be labeled as being mentally ill. Okay, it's graduates, defendants, typical modus operandi. Department of Defense, its components, partnerships, grant recipients, and or defense subcontractors knew in this instance that their usual alleged mental illness tactics would not work on this particular research subject plaintiff. Defendants, in order to cover up years of data collection and human research, began conducting their planned and calculated alleged domestic counterterrorism tactics, which include but are not limited to ordering military aircraft. Okay, here's the part right here. This is part of gang stalking right here, and I definitely received this and have for quite a while. All right. So once they realized this guy really knew what was going on, they couldn't put him in a mental facility. They couldn't arrest him. And I'm surprised this didn't start happening with him earlier. He must have gone on to this like really quick. Okay. So anyway, defendants in fact knew that the plaintiff had evidence that. Whoa. All right. Plaintiff, due to his law school and other personal priorities, personally declined the offer of I'm going back too far. Okay. All right. Defendants, in order to cover up years of data collection and human research, began conducting their planned and calculated alleged domestic counterterrorism tactics, which include but are not limited to ordering military aircraft, Santa Barbara Police Department, Santa Barbara Sheriff's Department, American Ambulance, right there, American Ambulance, AMR, and Santa Barbara Fire Department to stalk, track, and intimidate the plaintiff by sounding their sirens as they crossed his path. That happened to anybody else? Anybody? Targeted individuals ever happened to you? Probably not, right? That's sarcasm. Every targeted individual gets this from police, fire, and EMS. By sounding their sirens as they crossed his path. The same pattern occurred everywhere he traveled throughout the city of Santa Barbara and throughout California to date. Plaintiff, this still happens to me. This happened to me yesterday. Plaintiff ignored their actions as he knew that he was innocent. An innocent man, and had not engaged in any type of criminal activity. Department of Defense, its components, partnerships, and grant recipients, and or its defense subcontractors' alleged counterterrorism tactics included ordering law enforcement vehicles and emergency vehicles to drive by his residence vehicle and, while on foot, sounding their sirens in order to intimidate, oppress, suppress, cause emotional distress in an effort to elicit a response that would appear to be related to some type of mental illness or build up anger towards law enforcement. That'll do it. If some of you police out there don't understand why people hate you, it's because you do this kind of shit. When you intentionally antagonize somebody and act like you're not doing anything, you're gaslighting them is what you're doing. And that is the best way to get somebody to hate you very fast. And if you're here to protect and serve and you're doing this, it's not, this is going to get out. If you guys keep doing this shit, people are going to hate you. And your PR department and the LEIU is not going to be able to back you up eventually. And they're going to get sued by millions of people. You know? I still have hope that there are police departments that are not doing this. I still have hope that there is a chance that this will end and police, fire, EMS, and all of these other contractors, people that are being contracted, will understand what they're actually involved in, and that it's not part of a program that just keeps an eye on somebody. It's an intimidation and fear tactic that is leading to suicide, violence, drug abuse, family issues, um, incarceration, mental institution incarceration, and prescription drugs. It's it's cancer is what you're part of. Cancer is what you're doing. So you need to be aware of that and be aware that this happens, and they're going to go after you personally. You know, it's like when we start wars with somebody that we don't need to go start a war with. We're not actually there fighting for freedom. I'm not saying we do that every single time. But we go start a war with somebody, we go blow up their whole area, we take all their poppies or their aluminum or their whatever they have. And those people get out of there, they find a place, they find a way to recover, build their life back up, gain some capital, network. What's the first thing they're going to do? Once they have an opportunity to do it, they're going to go for revenge. Why are my glasses crooked? They're going to go for revenge, and get the people that came and took everything they had, took their life, took their family, took their opportunity to succeed. That's the same thing that right now is happening with targeted individuals. You're taking their life away from them. Some of them are going to sue you and make millions of dollars, and they're going to invest that money, or they're going to do something with that money and turn it into, I mean, Donald Trump started with $1 million loan, right? That's what I've heard. Started with $1 million loan. Now he's the president of the United States. Do you not think that one of these people is going to end up as an elected official, and they are going to have the right type of clearance to get all of the information of all the people involved and hold the people responsible that have been doing this? Your name's on lists. You've signed these letters. You're part of this. You're part of non-consensual human experimentation. It's gonna turn back on you. It's not gonna be good. Department of Defense, its components, partnerships, subcontractors also disseminated national security letters and used local law enforcement to make contact with anyone he came in contact with. Their actions were designed to further isolate the plaintiffs by having their agents intimidate or cause them to believe he had engaged in criminal acts. Defendant's objective was to keep the plaintiff under a cloud of suspicion while covertly attempting to take his life and destroy his ability to survive financially. Yeah. Department of Defense, its components, partnerships, grants, recipients, and or defense subcontractors knew that any discovery of the implanted devices in the minor children would shatter their farce that the plaintiff was their sole target, who was alleged to be involved in a sinister act. Defendants, in fact, knew that the plaintiff had evidence that this was never about just him, and that their actions stemmed from a cover-up of non-consensual human research. The reality is that their alleged counterterrorism tactics were designed to terminate a more than 10-year human research subject, being the plaintiff, and continue forward with their two young experimental subjects, which is what I believe is going on with both of my kids. At least one of them. DoD, its components, partnerships, also acquired the services of Defendant Level 3 Communications, which is based in Ventura, California. Level 3 Communications used roving wiretaps to obtain the phone numbers of family members, associates, friends, and anyone else that could possibly assist the plaintiff with money. Right to counsel, right to medical care, employment, and housing. The calls were designed to disseminate falsities. The overall objective was to isolate plaintiff and perpetuate his involvement in criminality. For example, defendants and or their agents call the plaintiff's brother in New York and alleged that the Santa Barbara County District Attorney was looking for him and whether he knew where his brother Richard Cain could be found. Plaintiff investigated and traced the alleged district attorney's office phone number 321-594-2976 back to the Department of Defense Subcontractor Level 3 Communications. Again, their objective was to disseminate misinformation and lies in order to further alienate and isolate the plaintiff so that he could not reach out to anyone for help to combat horrific events that he was being subject to. That's where I'm at right now. I've been completely isolated. I don't talk to any of my old friends. I don't talk to any of my old family. And I don't know if it's because some of them were involved or if they were given bad information about me. And they don't want to have anything to do with a criminal that the FBI or CIA showed up and said, hey, Mike Barden did this, Mike Barden did that. Or were some of them involved, you know? You try to ask people these kind of questions and you don't get a straight answer for them because they don't want to have the conversation with you for one reason or the other. You know, you can give them all the facts, you can give them all the proof, you can give them anything, and people won't listen because once somebody in a black suit shows up with a badge that says FBI, and you've seen movies from the time you were a kid, that when those people show up, you better listen to what, ooh, they're scary, you better listen to what they say, that they know everything, you know, and all they have to do is lie. That's all they have to do. You know, on the show with John Quinones, What Would You Do? They had an episode where this guy was going around telling people, hey, I need you to help me. That lady who's over there is a criminal. She kidnapped that baby. I need you to go get the baby for me. And people literally would just walk over. Somebody would distract the lady, who's an actor, of course, but somebody distracted the lady. This guy literally took somebody's baby, walked it up, gave it to this guy. He bought his badge on eBay. You know, they got another person to drug somebody's drink. He said, hey, this person's a kidnapper. You need to go over there and you need to put this in the drink and then they'll get kind of sleepy and we can go ahead and arrest them. And the person went over there and drugged somebody's drink. But this guy with the eBay badge he bought on eBay said he was a cop and needed help. These are the kind of things they do. Okay. All right, DoD, its components, partnerships, grants, grant recipients, and or its defense subcontractors' actions include having law enforcement vehicles drive slowly by the plaintiff, often in crisscrossing pattern. As the law enforcement vehicles would pass the plaintiff, defendants would trigger the RF devices, raising the blood pressure and testosterone levels. That part is super important right there. Right there, raising testosterone levels. The RF devices, when triggered, affect the central nervous system, and in most cases, causing one's behavior to become erratic. Essentially, the implants, coupled with intense pressure, are designed to cause the experimental subject to exhibit a mental breakdown, the appearance of being delusional, and physical aggression. Right there. That could be very helpful to me personally. Because the plaintiff understood what he was being subject to, he wore shielding over particular area to block the RF signals, which prevented him from succumbing to the devices. So some people say shielding doesn't work. Some people say that shielding does work. Roger Tulsis has a website called bugsweeps.com, and he has a lot of shielding advice on that website. That's ROGERTOLLSIS or TOLSIS. I don't know. It's Roger Tolsis with bugsweeps.com. And he's got a lot of advice, and he has seen, I think, up to 4,000 targeted individuals now that have been implanted. That just he personally has done. And there are other RFID chip scanners, people that will scan you for this as well, all over the United States. Roger just happens to be the closest one to me. All right, DoD, its components, partnerships, and recipients. As defense subcontractors retaliated against the plaintiff for exercising his constitutional rights, as he originally believed in 2010 that he was a victim of wrongful drug profile, as he filed a lawsuit against the city of Ventura in error. The lawsuit was filed in this court June 9, 2011, case CV 11-05390. I'm going to read that again just in case you want to look this case up. CV Charlie Victor 11-05390. In that lawsuit, the plaintiff complained of being tortured with some type of unseen device. He now knows that defendant's conspiracy involved remotely triggering the covertly implanted military-grade RF devices and giving the appearance that the plaintiff was somehow delusional or mentally ill as he complained of strange events and symptoms. So that's what we do now here in the United States, is when somebody complains of something that somebody hasn't heard of, they just go ahead and call you crazy, because there's all kinds of places they can put you just to shut you the hell up. Put you in the mental facility, put you in prison, put you on drugs, which make you more susceptible to the RFID communication, the remote neural monitoring. All right, DoD, its components, partnerships, grant recipients, and its defense subcontractors retaliated against the plaintiff for filing. Retaliated, I'm sorry, it's getting late. All right, subcontractors retaliated against the plaintiff for filing the aforementioned lawsuit on July 26, 2011. The plaintiff and his minor child, CAC, who was born on 3/3/2006, visited Oak Park Dentistry for Children, located in the city of Simi Valley, California. Defendants authorized and funded the implantation of several AMS, MEMS, RF-controlled and powered sub-millimeter and/or millimeter devices to be implanted into left arm of the minor child. Defendant Andrew Chin, Hasio, MD, informed the parents that an anesthetic was necessary due to the number of cavities that needed to be filled. The minor child received an injection into his left arm. Oh shit. I'm sorry, I think I just realized what something was in my mouth. My apologies. During the visit, the plaintiff walked next door to an adjacent store with HOS, other minor child, and as he walked back to the dental office, he observed military aircraft flying back and forth over the dental facility. And he also observed a black limousine-type vehicle with dark-tinted windows parked directly behind the dental office. Similar limo-type vehicles and law enforcement vehicles followed the plaintiff from Santa Barbara to Simi Valley. Several days after the visit to the dental office, numerous MEMS RF-controlled and powered submillimeter and or millimeter devices began protruding from his left arm. A photograph of the minor child's left arm was taken by his mother days after the visit. The minor child to date profusely scratches his left arm, and scars are visible as a result. The devices continue to be triggered to date. The devices once injected into the body cannot be seen after a period of time unless the body rejects them. A true copy of the photograph is here and attached to Exhibit 26. Department of Defense is its components, partnerships, grant recipients, and its defense subcontractors pattern in this case seems to encompass triggering the devices on the anniversary of 9/11. Seems to encompass triggering the devices on the anniversary of 9/11. The modus operandi depicted in all of the plaintiff's medical records mostly reflect triggering of the RF devices on dates where 9 or 11 is involved. Yes, these people have the certain dates where they go all out on this stuff. It's about numbers involved, and or the day before or after the anniversary of 9/11. This includes triggering the devices using a 9 or 11 day or month, thus causing the plaintiffs to seek medical attention. The evidence also suggests that once the plaintiffs sought medical attention or was hospitalized, defendants upgraded them with additional or newer technology. The evidence further suggests that the devices are mostly used as hate crimes and torture against particular races or a class of people. Bloodline. What I don't know. I think they're going after everybody now. Department of Defense, its components, subcontractors do to date, by way of their implanted RF devices, have been capable of hearing and seeing every movement of the plaintiffs dating back to make sense. I don't know what that means. Planning back to make sense 4/4/2004. Defendants merely use law enforcement to intimidate, harass, and collect very important research data relating to the plaintiff's responses to their tactics and experiments. Right, DoD, its components, and everybody else. Physicians and surgeons intentionally disguise and labeled their RF devices as being artifacts, lymphomas, fatty tissue, or benign tumors, and associated them with tinnitus in order to further conceal their government authorized and funded experiments in the name of national security. Plaintiff currently hears a low frequency in each ear and is more than likely sending and receiving information. This means defendants, if within a close proximity of the plaintiff and with the right equipment, would be to project voices or sounds into his ears. If the plaintiff had informed physicians that he heard voices, he would have been referred to a psychiatrist and labeled mentally ill. Or if he had informed them that he currently hears low-pitched frequency in both ears, he would have been diagnosed as having tinnitus. Plaintiff's expert witnesses have uncovered implanted RF-controlled and powered submillimeter and or millimeter devices which are implanted in and around his ears. A true copy of Simon imaging of plaintiff's left ear is here and attached to Part Exhibit 10. Department of Defense components and everybody else. RF-controlled and powered devices can be triggered by a ham radio. Really funny. Somebody who I used to call my best friend is a ham radio operator now, and that makes sense because that person is a perp for sure and is actually part of the Hells Angels now. Fucking asshole. Sorry. Profanity alert. Smart cell phones, controlled by powered devices can be triggered by a ham radio, smart cell phones, aircraft which maintain a targeted frequency, ISP addresses, satellites, satellite dishes, DirecTV. Oh, DirecTV. Maybe that's why people around here have so many DirecTV dishes on their wall. Satellite phones, cable modems, internet modem, and any other RF controlled devices that is capable of sending and receiving RF signals. So like your Wi-Fi router, that's your smart meter. The desired outcomes are to trigger the devices, driving the subject crazy, induce mental conditions, induce mental illnesses, and or induce physical aggravation. Any of the aformed responses would appear to be abnormal, causing one to be jailed or placed in a mental institution. Once the human research subject is jailed or institutionalized, defendants who are able to discredit the research subject while at the same time concealing their experiments and covering up their constitutional violations. That's exactly what's going on with me right now. Department of Defense, its components, everybody else. MEM's RF devices were rejected by some of the areas of the plaintiff's body, leaving obvious abnormal lumps in the area where lymphomas could possibly exist. Plaintiff's investigation, research, and other evidence suggests that the RF devices are being used for experimentation and hate crime tools against the uneducated, poor, middle class, particular races, religions, and political affiliations. Let's highlight that part because that cannot be more true. Hate crime tools against the uneducated, poor, middle class, particular races, religions, and political affiliations. So, like, anybody that Obama didn't like that was saying something about him, especially if it was true and incriminating, go ahead and throw you under the FISA bus with the, out of the 11 FISA court judges, 10 were ones that he appointed. The same modus operandi exists among other unwitting human research subjects. Many of them are members of Freedom from Covert Harassment. And the International Center Against the Abuse of Covert Technologies. Both organizations consist of hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who have been victims of the same exact alleged counterterrorism tactics and implanted devices. Many of these victims visited the cities of Washington, D.C. and New York to participate in President Obama's Bioethics Commission meetings held in the year of 2011. Bioethics. He had a Bioethics Commission meeting. All of them provided proof that Obama did this. Well, that's funny. He hosted the thing that he was part of. All of them provided proof that they had been non-consensually implanted with RF devices, but had no idea whom was responsible and how to seek redress. In their cases, they could not trace the devices back to the cowardly criminals who implanted them. Department of Defense, its components, and everybody else abused their authority by commandeering neighborhood homes, apartment buildings, and any other structure that is available in the name of national security in order to gain close proximity to the plaintiff's research subjects to inflict maximum pain. Defendants also deputize neighbors who are paid to trigger the RF devices in their absence. Both sides. That guy, I'm surrounded by these people. This whole neighborhood. Once the devices are implanted into the body, there is nowhere one can run or hide. Plaintiff attempted to stay in hotels and various other places to escape the torture until he realized that he was not safe anywhere. Here we go. Mr. Aaron Alexis experienced the same exact events and symptoms being subjected to RF devices. He was, without a doubt, a victim of the same technology. Although he knew who the perpetrators were, he unfortunately did not know how to combat the transmission of the RF signals. Plaintiff figured out how to combat the RF signals, thus preventing his untimely death. If you don't know who Aaron Alexis is, he was one of the active shooters that was a targeted individual. Him and Myron May. Plaintiff figured out how to combat the RF signals, thus preventing his untimely death. Department of Defense, its components, and everybody else used the words national security to intimidate prospective surgeons who are willing to remove the devices. Evidence from the bodies of the plaintiffs, many of them now fear retaliation by the defendants should they remove any of the devices. The quantity of the devices and their locations is problematic and has presented new challenges to medical personnel, creating the possibility that some of the devices may never be removed from their bodies and will remain indefinitely. Removal of the devices from the plaintiffs many of them now fear retaliation by the defendants should they remove any of the devices. The quantity of devices and their locations is problematic and has presented new challenges to medical personnel, creating the possibility that some of the devices may never be removed. I'm sorry, I repeated that. From their bodies and will remain indefinitely. Removal of the devices from the plaintiff's heart, skull, and brain may result in his death. The threat to plaintiff is significant because the micro electromechanical devices, after being implanted or injected through a 3 milliliter, I think that's supposed to be millimeter, 3 millimeter, I don't know, syringe, rely upon a titanium capacitor component capable of introducing electronical current directly into the muscle and nerve of sufficient strength and as to reanimate disabled limbs in paraplegics. The interaction with these devices by defendants occurs daily, 24 hours a day, especially while plaintiff or his minor children are trying to sleep. Department of Defense and everybody else continue to interact with the RF devices in a harmful and life-threatening manner and has increased with intensity as the plaintiff asserts his constitutional rights and as the truth begins to unravel their scroll of lies. All right, I left off on I'm on page 53 now. So we've got 30 pages of this to go. This one's been an hour and 13 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and leave off on that. Made it over halfway through this thing, and I'm doing my best to can't really be entertaining while you're doing this, but trying to read this as fast as I can and kind of throw in a little bit of my own commentary, things that are going on with me that are very similar, if not exactly the same as what is mentioned in this lawsuit. And this isn't the only thing I found. This is the most recent thing I found. I've got 70 other videos here on YouTube. Only a couple of them are me playing guitar and stuff like that. The rest of them have to do with being targeted. Started doing videos about, I think it was in like November. Yeah, November. I'm not sure when I started. It's been a little while now. So, but this is the most telling piece of evidence that this is what I've been talking about. I've said this was done by the deep state, DOD, DOJ, FBI, CIA, DHS. I mean, it goes on and on and on, and you can't tell exactly where it's coming from, but this has to be government funded, or it has to be government funded. There's nobody in the world could be this well funded and have this many people active in this kind of thing. I'm going to leave off on that. You know, he mentioned Aaron Alexis, and Aaron Alexis didn't need to die. Myra May didn't need to die. Nobody needs to die from non-consensual human experimentation. Taking over somebody's body and their mind has got to be the worst thing that you could do to a person in the world. If you're doing this, you're a treasonous criminal, and you deserve anything that you get. There's nothing. I'm getting a headache now. There's nothing that you can do or say if you're found guilty of this to justify yourself. Oh, it's for the betterment of humanity. It's for the country. It's not. You don't just take over somebody's life and ruin their life for your benefit. All right, that was part 4. I'll start part 5 tomorrow.